Hi everybody, welcome back to Homestead, Ohio. A little over a year ago, on June 18th, I set up the beehives here. And on June 24th, we got our first bees here. Now I set up 2 hives, but I only put bees in the one on the right. And they did pretty good all year long. They moved into the upper deep and actually started drawing out comb and putting a little bit of honey in there and stuff. A couple months ago, I took a peek in the hive and we had a warm day in February, and I just took the top off of it and I peeked down inside there and I listened. I couldn't hear any activity. I couldn't see anything going on, so I just put the top back on it. And it was still cold. It was February in Ohio. So a few weeks ago, I come out here to the hives and there's a flurry of activity around the hive there on the right. And I'm thinking, sweet. The bees survived through the winter, which is a great thing. That's what I wanted them to do, was to survive. And about 2 weeks ago, I come out here, pulled the top off, not a single bee in there. Not a bunch of dead bees inside there either. So I went ahead and ordered another nuke. I actually ordered the other nuke a couple months ago because they had them coming in April. So I got my bees ordered, and I decided I was going to go ahead and put them in the other one, the hive on the left. And my wife stuck those little foam stickers of my granddaughters on the front there, so they'll know the difference between the 2 houses. They'll probably figure it out anyways, but I was only planning on getting one. Well, I went and picked these up this morning. He had an extra one there that hadn't been sold yet, so I went ahead and got it. That keeps me from having to go back there and pick up bees a week later or 2 weeks later or whenever they become available. So I have 2 nukes, and you can see them sitting down here in the front. We took the frames out, put them in the hives. There's 5 frames in a nuke, jester box they call them. And we took 5 of the, on the one where we had bees in already, we took 5 of the worst frames out and put the 5 new ones in. And then the other ones, we took and decapped some of the cells on here. We cleaned out any brood that was left in there. Not that there was only just a small section on 2 sides of one frame of any brood. There was a little bit of honey around the outsides there, so we went ahead and decapped that. This little guy wants to get right in my face. Or gal. I don't blame her. I'm kind of invading her area. But anyways, we decapped these and everything. You can see the decapping tool sitting on the one frame over there. And we're letting the bees clean those up. Of course, they're going to take a little time to get accustomed to their new digs. And it's probably not helping much me being out here doing this. Oh, she doesn't fly at my nose. Anyways, I'm going to get out of their way, and let's go take a look at what else is going on. On Homestead, Ohio's Big Hill Farm. I'm leaving. Okay, so another thing we've been working on here on the farm, kind of behind the scenes, and I didn't film any of this stuff either, is I got some raised bed gardens here. Now, these are concrete blocks. Some people refer to them as cinder blocks. They are not cinder blocks anymore. I don't even know if you can get cinder blocks. But if you can, you don't want to use those because there's minerals that leach out from the cinder blocks and can cause harm to your plants. But these are just good old concrete blocks. And they're 4 foot by 8 foot on the inside, at least the 4 foot wide part of it. They might be a little shorter than 8 foot on the lengthwise. But we do have, I did order 75 strawberry plants, 3 different varieties. I'm not sure which ones I ordered. I do have the tags stuck down in there. And I actually had a couple extra plants, so there's 2 pots up there with some strawberry plants in those. And I do have them covered up with straw. Now, the fill that I used in here is mostly, not mostly, it's probably a 30% compost. This is mushroom compost that I got from a local place, and actual native soil, and did a little bit of hugelkultur in here, which is where you put twigs and sticks and leaves and all that kind of stuff in the bottom of it, put some dirt on top of it, put your soil and everything in there. And it's supposed to break down over time. It will settle, and it will become part of the soil, and you will have to top it off occasionally. These I mounted up just slightly over level because it's gonna settle anyways. But we've got, you can plant strawberries like 1 per square foot. These are 32 square feet each. I've got 25 plants in there, so they got a little more room in there. But there's 3 garden beds here. I plan on putting a couple more over there, at least 1 more, and maybe 1 more in here. Did not get them lined up perfectly straight. The walls aren't perfectly straight either. They are loose stacked, no mortar in between them or anything. I may go ahead and fill like every 4th or 5th hole or something like that with some concrete, set a piece of pipe in there because I want to make hoops to go over top of this, kind of protect the strawberries. And I also want to do some broccoli romanesco and some cauliflower and stuff, those brassicas. And I definitely want to keep a fine mesh on those to keep caterpillars and all that kind of stuff out of them. Right now, these have only been planted for about 4 days, I think. There is a little green on some of them. I'm going to have to probably water them in again. We haven't gotten much rain here. We got a little shower a little while ago. Not quite 1/10 of an inch on the rain gauge. So not enough to really do anything. Let's take a look at what else has been going on this week. Okay, so I actually burned a little vacation time from my regular full-time job, a staycation, I guess you'd say, because I stayed home and did a lot of work on here. You've seen me putting up the trellises here, and the things have changed a little bit. I originally started off with 24 plants, and then I had to order 25 to get a discount, so I went ahead and, did that. And then I thought, you know what, there's a better discount the higher you go. So at 50 plants, you get a really good discount. And I, like an idiot, said, yeah, go ahead and give me 50 of each of the 2 varieties I ordered. So I ended up putting a whole bunch more trellises up, changed my spacing a little bit on them, and I come up with 114 spaces for plants. And I didn't bother to calculate that when I ordered my plants. I just said, yeah, give me 50 of each variety. And like I said, I ended up with 114 spaces. So right now, my upper rows, I've got all Concords, and then I've got an aisle that goes in between the middle there. And then I've got 1 more space here with Concords in it. And the one where the camera's sitting right now, I have no plants in there. But I've got 1 Concord I'm missing here, and then 9 I'm missing from there because these posts are 20 feet apart, and I plan on putting 3 plants there. The posts on the upper trellises are 15.7 feet apart, and I have 2 plants in between those. So one of the reasons I did not plant anything in this row where the camera sits is because on the upper side of it, it was extremely wet. So when I was tilling this all up, trying to get the soil ready for the grapevines, because I knew they were coming in, that's why I took my staycation this week, I needed to get these things in the ground. I read something somewhere that says some of the best wine in the world is made from grapes in a region of France, and I think it's Chardonnay, don't quote me on that, but they say that the soil there is very rocky and heavy clay, and that makes some of the best wines. These ought to really be fantastic because this is nothing but rock and clay here, it seems like. I did have to get some dirt from some other places on my property. I actually had to buy a little bit of garden soil to mix in with some of that. And I put some compost around them. You can see the compost is all piled up there. It's kind of messed up because I pushed it back a little bit to get the hole there. I didn't want to put a lot of it in there because they advise you in the planting instructions not to supply any of that because the plants supposedly have enough nutrients already with them that they should do just fine, and putting too much fertilizer on there will encourage too much growth for the established roots, or the lack of established roots anyways. But there is a little bit in there because I needed some kind of organic matter for these things to go in, not just rock and clay. If they do well, that's great. But I did dig a ditch up here, probably about, I don't know, 60 or 80 feet long, and then I put a drain pipe in to go down to the ditch. Will eventually go down to the pond and out into the swamp area. But right now I don't have anything planted in those areas that are kind of wet because it will, grapes don't like wet roots and I don't want to kill them off. So right now that ground is tilled up and it is just left to dry for right now. So hopefully it may take another week, which luckily they did allow me to get 14 more vines, 10 more Concords, and 4 more Niagaras, which are behind the camera right now, at the better rate for the bulk pricing, which I can't thank them enough, because it was my error, not theirs. They gave me just exactly what I called for, what I requested and ordered, and I screwed up. So they did give me the better pricing for an additional 14 plants. So if you get a chance, I'll put a link in the description down below. I'm not an affiliate of theirs. I don't get anything from them, but it's A Vineyards in Fredonia, New York, which is not too far from me, too far to go drive, but I can't thank them enough for helping me out with my error. All right, now this little field here with the bit of green that you see in it is a combination of, I've got crimson clover on this side, and I've got some winter wheat on this side, or winter rye. I can never remember which one I planted here because I bought both, but I planted some on the other side of the hill and some here. And this I'm growing for a cover crop. So my intent is to go ahead and kill this off by probably just pressing it down and crushing it. And you're really supposed to do it before it goes to seed or anything. Now, one of the things I just noticed a few minutes ago is not only is it very sparse in some places, and it was just like this when I planted it. Shortly after it sprouted, I noticed there were some thin areas. Now, it could be that the soil's not fertile enough to support it. It could be that I spread the seeds a little bit thin. It could be that I mixed a lot of organic matter in here. I actually had big piles of brush out here and run over it with the brush hog, chopped it all up, and then took the tiller across there and tilled it into the ground. And maybe I robbed the ground of a little bit of nitrogen. I'm not sure, but I have noticed that there are some flowers starting to form on the crimson clover, which are going to be pretty. They really are. And since I've got new bees, maybe I leave it. Maybe I just kill off the wheat side of it there. Maybe I let that go to seed and brew me some beer later on. I don't know if I'll get enough seed out of there to make a 5-gallon batch of beer, but who knows? But some of it looks really nice. There's like a strip right through the middle here on both sides. And I wanted to do 2 different ones on here for a couple different reasons, just to see which one worked better and to see if maybe one plant grew better than the other. I've only got 2 varieties in here, but we tried planting a garden here a couple years ago and it come out horrible because nothing really wanted to grow in here. Now it is a hillside, so the hill runs up and down this way, and what I planned on doing was, there's a term for it, I can't remember what it is, but I want to put my rows going across to slow any water shed down from there. The ground is pretty dry right now, there's cracking and everything in it, but if nothing else, if I do just let this go, the clover should fix some nitrogen into the ground. I'm not so sure about the wheat or rye or whatever that was I planted there, but it will definitely at least put some organic matter down in the ground. Now I could possibly cover this up with some plastic, a black plastic or a clear plastic, either way, to get some humidity in there and to kill off the plants. I don't want to use any kind of herbicides or anything. I don't want to use any kind of chemicals if I can get away with it. But this needs to be, if this is going to be a garden area, it's a good area, it's out in the sun, it gets full sun, at least when it's not cloudy, most of the day. So this is what we established as what we wanted to be our garden area. Whether or not it's going to actually be that way, I don't know. But I did do a couple shots of this thing over the months, from the time I planted it, I think, till it started sprouting, and a little bit in between then. So it overwintered, and here it is right now. Kind of want to let the bees have that clover. Who knows? Okay, so now here we are at the compost piles in the front of the compost bins, in front of the still yet to be finished greenhouse. And that was another reason I took my staycation too, was because I had every intention of getting this thing, at least getting the roof on it and the poly on the sides of it. But it took a lot more work than I expected to get the grapes in the ground. It took us 2 full days, me and my wife out there crawling around on our hands and knees, digging in the dirt and planting these plants and watering them in and everything. I've kind of neglected these piles a little bit. I have worked on them. Last night I flipped this one over. It was all piled up on this side. And what I've been doing, and I've been getting some incredible heat out of these things doing it this way, is I will take and put a layer down, water it in, put a layer down, water it in. This is a mixture of chicken manure and sawdust, the same sawdust I've used on my blueberries for a mulch. I mixed a bunch of it in here, and it really kicks off fast and gets really hot. I've had temperatures of right at the 160 degree mark. The last time I checked this, I think it was 142 or something like that. I have not checked it today, but I would suspect, yeah, there's a little steam coming out there, and I did not dig down very deep in there either. I probably took a 6-inch layer there and flipped it over, and steam's coming out of it. So it really cooks fast. It does not have a bad smell. This pile over here got a little stinky, went a little bit, what do they call it, anaerobic? Aerobic, I think it is. Anaerobic is good, aerobic is bad. Or maybe I got that the other way around. Either way, this was an excessive amount of chicken manure from cleaning out the coops, and I did not have enough sawdust to go in it. So this one, I've been flipping it over a little bit just to keep it aired out so it doesn't get that really nasty, stinky smell. Did throw a few lawn clippings in there yesterday, which is even more nitrogens, which is too much for the amount of carbons that I've got in there. And that's what kind of creates that bad smell. This one's doing great. That one, not so much. Maybe next weekend I should be getting a big dump truck load of sawdust and manure, and they're gonna go over in another area. But I promise you, I will get back to work on this greenhouse because I could really use it. I've got a lot of plants started on my kitchen counter right now, and there's just not enough room in the house for all that stuff. It would do much better out here. Okay, so now here we are over in the blueberry patch, Blueberry Hill, I guess you could say, huh? The mosquitoes are starting to come out. That's a bad thing. That's the part that makes me sad about seeing winter go, is the mosquitoes coming back. I've got my Patriots, I've got my Blue Crop, I've got my Chandlers and my Darrows there. 4 rows, 10 plants each, 40 plants in here. And I was worried because I did not have this protected over the winter, and the deer had come out here and nibbled the tops off of almost every single one of these plants. They've recovered well. Most of them have anyways. There's still some long, tall, spindly canes coming up there that don't have many leaves in the middle part of it there. I'm not sure what to do about that, if pruning will help or not, but there are a lot of blossoms on some of these, and it seems like every other plant. Don't ask me why that would happen. But these are going to mature at different times too. They're going to fruit at different times. The Patriots apparently are the earliest because there's the most blooms on those. Now this will be their 2nd year. Should I let them fruit? Probably not. Am I going to? Probably. One of the things I do need to do in here, the weeds have been suppressed pretty good by the sawdust that's in here. I did come out here and put a little bit of acidifier. Now this soil is already naturally acidic, and I did check that before I decided to plant blueberries out here. Unfortunately, I did have some lime put down last fall, but I'm not so sure that that really did much to the soil. But I did go ahead and put a little bit of slow release organic acidifier on here. It's elemental sulfur and a little bit of gypsum. So it'll give it a little acidic boost right now, and probably it will feed some sulfur to the soil, the enzymes of the bacteria in the soil that will eat that sulfur and create sulfuric acid, giving them a little more acidic boost. And the reason I did that was because when I come out here and looked at these leaves, a lot of these leaves had some red, a lot of red on them. And I thought, you know what, there's something not right here. They're not supposed to be red until fall when the weather changes. But like I said, we've had some warm weather. My bees were out a few weeks ago, and they were just, I thought everything was fine and dandy until it got another cold snap and they took off. So putting a little bit of acidifier on there, I don't think it's had time to work. It's only been about 3 days since I put that on, maybe 4, and I can't imagine it working that fast, but the plants do look a little greener today than they did last week when I looked at them. So I'm thinking it's the nights down in the mid to lower 30s and the nice warm days like this. Now for the next, for the foreseeable future, there's going to be a lot of nicer, warmer weather. Dare I say hot weather here. Not a lot of rain in the forecast for the next 3 or 4 days. I did feel a couple sprinkles. I can feel them right now, but it's not going to be enough to do anything. The sky just doesn't give me a clue that there's going to be any significant rain to do anything in here. But I am so far pretty happy with the blueberries. I did not put the acidifier on. I ran out when I had 5 plants left, so 2, 4, and the 5th one right there did not get any on it. And I'm going to leave it like that just because I want to see if it actually makes a difference on these. I do got to get in here and mow. I did have to go buy me a push mower because I just can't get in here with the ride mower. It is self-propelled, so that's going to be a big help on this hill here. And I've got a very small area between the fence and the first row on both sides. I've got plenty wide enough area right here, but I put my posts too close together. That's my fault again to get my riding mower in here, but I would only be able to do the 1 row anyways. If only I had some flat ground. Okay, so now here we are at the original 9 vines I planted. Actually, only 6 of these are the originals. These 2, that one, the one on the end, and 2 over there. I did have to replant 1 of each variety. They died off, and they're actually coming back now, which is good because I got a little overzealous when I trimmed some of these and trimmed off more than I should have. But now that there's new growth coming back, I can start some new cordons or canes or whatever you want to call them to go where I need them to go. And this will be, these 6 plants, this will be their 2nd full year, I think it is. So maybe I can actually get a few grapes off of some of these. Now, I always said I did not want to use any kind of chemicals on here. I want to keep it as organic as possible. But Japanese beetles last year really tore these vines up. At least the reds and the whites, the concords up there, for some reason the Japanese beetles did not mess with them. My chickens, on the other hand, you can see, maybe you can see, I've got some areas around here where I keep the weeds off of them. And I put some compost down there to give them a little bit of a growth spurt. But the chickens like to dig through the compost and see what they can find in there too. So I have to make me some little wire cages to go around the bottoms just to keep the chickens out of there. I haven't had any other animals coming over here and messing with anything yet. So, so far they're good. Anyways, that's the update on Homestead, Ohio. That's what I've been up to. You haven't seen many videos because it really, doing the work itself is quite a bit too. So when you, I'd scare off a chicken. When you throw in the addition of a camera and having to move it around and everything, when you're the worker, the crew, the actor, and the camera crew, it really gets to be tough. And sometimes I just want to get out there and really work on it and maybe show you the results of what I've been doing. I will show you some of the specifics on the greenhouse when I get to those points, because some of that you might want to know a little bit more specific details about some of the things, like the polycarbonate I'm putting on there, how I'm setting up my irrigation system in there. And I do need to set up some kind of irrigation system for the grapes too, because here in a couple months we're going to get into the time of year where it's pretty dry, and right now I have no water access out there. We've been carrying 5-gallon buckets out there and watering each one of the plants in individually, and I really need to set up some kind of drip irrigation system, even if I've got to go up and fill up a 55-gallon drum weekly and then distribute it through the drip irrigation. But I've got to do something, because that makes way too much work to have to go out there and do this all the time, and there's just too many plants for that. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the update on Homestead, Ohio, and hopefully you understand why I haven't released a whole lot of content on either this channel or the Small Caliber Arms Review channel, is because this really takes a lot of time, and I enjoy doing it. It's hard work, it's back-breaking work. My knees are killing me, my whole body has been aching. Today's the first time I've taken a midday nap in as long as I can remember, because I just think if there's daylight out there, I should be out there working, and today I was just beat down. Anyways, thanks for watching Homestead, Ohio. Reach up here and hit this button and check out some of my other videos, and hit the little round one over here to subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.